Ernie and Debbie live at Winchester Mystery House. They are the night watch couple.
I was here. I was calling my sister. All of a sudden, I just felt...
Even the trained guard dog shies when he passes one particular hallway every night. That as long as she continued to build rooms for the spirits, place many psychics insist is inhabited. Elaborate alarm system. When the alarm goes off, Debbie and Ernie get up, even if it's only the ghost of play.
You just have a flashlight on, down that hallway for him to see. Otherwise, he won't go down there. Playground. The Indian use that. Sometimes it seems like it does move, and it seems like it stares at him.
Ernie and Debbie and their ghosts. In San Jose, Steve Davis, Channel 7 News.
Once, in a small village nestled at the edge of an ancient forest, there was a house that no one dared to enter. It stood alone, covered in ivy, its windows dark and unwelcoming. The villagers spoke of it in hushed tones, but none knew the true story of its owner. Years ago, a young woman named Eleanor moved into the house. She was an artist, known for her vivid landscapes, but ever since she arrived, a strange cloud seemed to hang over her. At first, she was friendly, greeting the villagers with a soft smile and a gentle voice. But something about her eyes, dark and distant, made people uneasy. She never ventured far from the house, and in the quiet of the evening, strange lights would flicker from the windows, and faint, almost imperceptible sounds could be heard drifting from within. One evening, as the sun set behind the trees, an old man named Henry decided to visit the house. He had heard whispers about Eleanor's odd behavior, but he was too curious to ignore them. As he approached, the air grew still, colder than it should have been for that time of year. The door creaked open before he could knock. Eleanor greeted him with a smile, though her eyes seemed even darker than before. She invited him in, but there was an unsettling quality to her voice that made Henry hesitate. "I'm working on something," she said softly, "but it's not quite finished yet." Inside, the house was filled with paintings, hundreds of them. Each one more haunting than the last. Landscapes twisted and contorted, skies bled into unnatural colors, and trees reached out like gnarled hands. The images seemed to shift if you stared at them too long, but it wasn't just the paintings that unsettled Henry. It was the quiet. The silence was so heavy, so thick, it felt as though the house itself was holding its breath. Eleanor led him to a room at the back of the house, where a single painting stood on an easel, covered by a cloth. Her voice lowered, barely a whisper, as she spoke. "This one. This is the one I've been working on for so long. It's almost finished." Henry couldn't stop himself from glancing at the cloth. There was something about it, something that made his skin crawl. Before he could ask her to reveal it, the air in the room grew colder still. A low hum began to reverberate through the walls like a distant, forgotten song. Eleanor's face became pale, her eyes wild with fear. She reached out, trembling, and yanked the cloth off the painting. What Henry saw made his blood run cold. The painting was of the house itself, but the trees surrounding it were not trees at all. They were shadows, dark figures with hollow eyes, and in the background the forest seemed to stretch into an endless abyss. And in the corner of the painting, barely visible but unmistakably there, was Henry himself, his face twisted in terror. Before he could speak, Eleanor collapsed, her hands trembling as she stared at the painting. "They're coming," she whispered. "They always come when..."